Hey guys, this is Eliza and welcome back to a new video. So today I am wrapping up the month of October. So if you've seen my September wrap up, you'll know that I'm starting to do a little bit of statistics in my wrap ups. Usually I just talk about the books, but I thought I would show you guys some of the statistics as well. So firstly, for genre. So in the month of October, I read 1 non-fiction, 2 mysteries, 1 horror, 2 thrillers, 5 fantasy, 1 sci-fi. Also, I should mention that I read 13 books. So 8 out of those 13 were standalones, the rest were all part of a series. I read 4 graphic novels, 1 hardcover, 7 audiobooks, and 1 paperback. And this month I actually had a pretty substantial difference in the age range that the book is made for. Usually I read like a hell of a lot of YA, but this time it was like all over the place. So I read 4 adult books, 2 middle grade, and then the rest were YA. We're a little bit down with the LGBT rep. This time I only read 1 book that had significant LGBT rep. If it's just like a background character that's mentioned like once, that's like, oh yeah, they're gay, then I don't include it. And also 8 of the books I read this month were released in 2021. So I'm reading a lot of new releases. I read 7 books by female authors, 2 by multiple authors, and 3 by male authors. Oh, and also I thought it was interesting that 9 of the books I read this month were from new to me authors. And lastly, star ratings. These were all over the damn place this month. Firstly, I did DNF 2 books. I'll talk about them, but obviously I didn't actually give them a rating because I DNF'd them. But I gave out 2 5 stars, 4 4.5, plus like actually 5, but one of them was a reread. I put that in a different statistic generally, but for the purpose of this, 5 of them were 4.5 stars. 3 of them were 4 stars. Then we had 1 3.5 stars and 1 2.5 stars. So now, on to the books that I actually read this month. So I'm just gonna go in order of read or DNF'd because there is 2 DNFs in here, but we're just gonna go in order. So firstly we have for DNF, The Ghost Tracks by Celso Hurtado. I think is how you pronounce it, I'm not 100% sure. But I got this one as an e-arc and it is a paranormal thriller or horror, I can't remember, one of the 2, but it did not live up to expectations. It sounded really good. Basically, it's about this bloke who starts a paranormal investigation company to help support his grandmother who has cancer, I believe. I think it is, but she's going through some medical thing and he's helping pay the bills. But him and his mate start this paranormal investigation company. But the thing that pisses me off, and like, it was 100% the story that pissed me off. Like, the writing was a little bit bland, but it was mostly just like the characters and the story pissed me off. The main character who knows that ghosts and paranormal shit exists, right? He knows it exists. And he starts this investigation company, he puts like an ad up on Craigslist or whatever the fuck, and these people start contacting him. And he doesn't believe a single one of them that whatever they saw or whatever like their issue is paranormal. And like the first lady that he goes to help, she shows him something on video that proves what she's saying, basically. Like in her eyes, it proves what she's saying. He runs out of the house, vomits, and like loses his fucking mind over whatever the hell he saw. But then they just never mention it again. And the fact that even after whatever this was that she showed him, that he had such a reaction to, he still doesn't believe that her issue is paranormal. So, I don't know. It just annoyed me. A lot about it annoyed me. It was very all over the place. None of it really made sense. Anyways, but I DNF'd for that one. Wasn't impressed. Moving on. So, the next book I read in the month of October was September 11, which I should have wrote it in September, but anyways. September 11, 2001. So I do have a review for this one up on my blog. This one is obviously non-fiction. It is based around September 11, but I expected it to be, like, it's a graphic novel. I expected it to be impactful, like emotional. I expected to feel something reading this, but I really didn't. Like, it was definitely textbook, so blandly explained that you had no emotion towards it. I have read multiple things based around September 11 or watched videos. There was one video on TikTok I will leave the page link down below. I can't think of what the Queen of Hysteria or something is her usual thing, but she did a video about her experience through September 11 as a young kid, and oh my god, I was bawling my eyes out. But for this, I felt no emotion whatsoever. Like, it was just written so blandly, and it focuses so little on the actual September 11 and more so on the consequences over the years because of September 11, which was interesting. But definitely, if you're going to read this, go into it knowing it's non-fiction and it reads kind of bland and like a textbook. Like 100% my issue with it was the writing, obviously not the story. And also the illustrations, because the illustrations at times were really hard to like see, like differentiate different things. And also it went backwards and forwards in timeline towards the start. Like towards the end, it was less so, it was more just like toward like afterwards, but towards the front of the book, like it was backwards and forwards in timelines, but it was hard to follow. Like I'm like, hold on, what's going on? Because it's just swapped timelines and I didn't realize, like, again. So yeah, that left me confused as well. So overall, I don't think this was executed very well. I did give this one a 3.5. So next I'll talk about two books at once because they're book 1 and 2 in a series, and that is The Inheritance Game and The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. The Inheritance Games, I keep getting the titles confused. The Inheritance Games was a reread for me. I read this one last year and really enjoyed it. I wanted to do a reread of it before I picked up The Hawthorne Legacy, obviously, which I'm really glad I did because I thought I remembered most of the story, but there was like a major plot point that I completely forgot about. So I'm glad. Otherwise, I would have been pretty fucking confused when I read this one, so I'm glad I reread it. Basically, The Inheritance Game is about this girl who's just like your average girl. It's not one of those stories, trust me. But she's like this average girl, she's at school, and next minute she gets called to the office, and in the office is her sister, her older sister, who is her legal guardian, as well as this random guy. And this random guy tells her that she has inherited something from Tobias Hawthorne, who is like a multi-billionaire, basically. And she's inherited something from him. They don't know what. The will hasn't been read yet because she has to be present. Like everyone in the will has to be present to read the will. So she's got to go to the Hawthorne house and get the will read and find out what the hell's going on and why this random bloke left her anything in his will. And it's basically the mystery surrounding the family, surrounding why she was left anything when she literally doesn't know this bloke. Like, is there a connection? They're trying to figure that out. Really enjoyed this one. Both The Inheritance Games and The Hawthorne Legacy are 4.5. I'm very keen for the third book. So next I read Falling by TJ Newman, which this book has been everywhere online recently. Well, mainly in October. I kind of haven't seen it since, but during October it was. And I enjoyed it. It was a 4 stars. It wasn't absolutely amazing to me. It is a adult thriller, but personally I didn't find it as thrilling as I think it could have been. Like, I wasn't sitting on the edge of my seat. Like, I was invested. I was curious about the mystery side of it, but I wasn't like edge of my seat thrilling, you know? So that's why I got a 4 stars. It didn't get like higher because it was really good, but it didn't like quite live up to expectations in that respect. But basically this one follows this pilot, and unbeknownst to anyone on the plane, his family has been kidnapped, and in order to protect them, he has to crash the plane and kill everyone. Recommend picking it up, but me personally, I didn't find it as thrilling as I thought it was going to be, but a lot of people saying it's super thrilling, so maybe that's me. I'm not sure. But I did rate this one 4 stars, so it's still a pretty damn good book. Just like, it could have been a little bit, but I'm definitely curious to see what else this author's written though. Like, I don't even know if they have any other books, but I'm curious. So might have to look into that. Next we have White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. And I knew very little about this going into it. I knew it was a YA horror thriller situation, and I also knew that it had been dubbed as a modern day haunted house. So I was definitely here for it. I read it in October during like leading up to Halloween. Super good time to read it. I really enjoyed this one. It was another 4.5 stars for me. I had read some really good books this month, and I also had some really low ratings, but I read some really good books this month. So this one is going to be slightly hard to explain. Personally, I went into this book knowing nothing, and I don't regret that. So if you don't want to know the synopsis, come back when the book is down. But basically, this one follows Marigold. Her and her family pack up and move because of an opportunity that her mum was given. They get to live in this house for nothing. So Marigold, her brother, her mum's new partner, and his daughter all move into this house. But the only downside is it's in like a really weird neighborhood full of dilapidated homes. Like I'm talking homes being burnt to the ground. I'm talking shit has gone down in this neighborhood. And this one house in the middle of all this chaos has been renovated picture perfect so they can come and live in it. And in this program where they're basically going to reestablish the town and they're going to move people in, renovate the houses, move people in to rebuild the neighborhood. But they're the first ones there. So like they're surrounded by some creepy ass houses and there's history in those houses. Like I said, haunted house situation. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed that one. It was super fun. It was thrilling, edge of your seat. I really enjoyed it. And the twist, I did not see that coming from a mile away. Like I was like 3 words from the twist and I still didn't get it. Like, no, was not expecting that. Was not expecting that. It's 100 Ghosts. It's basically just like this fun little graphic novel where there's like illustrations of a ghost and then the name of a ghost. The name of that ghost. 100 times. Like it's 100 ghosts. You see 100 ghosts. It took me like 4 minutes to read. There is a little bit of text at the front, but besides that, it took me like 4 minutes to read it. It was just a fun, cute Halloween read, I guess. Like it featured ghosts, so I guess it's Halloweeny. I rated it like 4 stars because like I wasn't really sure what to rate it. How do you rate a book like that? I don't know. But anyways, it's fun. Pick it up. It's unscribed. It'll take you like 2 minutes and you can take another book off your Goodreads reading goal. So next I read another graphic novel and that was Low Volume 1 by Rick Remender and Greg Ticini. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. This one I rated 2.5 stars. I had no idea what it was about going into it. I probably should have looked that up. But like the idea of it was interesting, but then I was confused. It was very all over the place. The pacing was weird. The illustrations were kind of hard. Like they were very, very busy illustrations. Like I mean busy. And I did struggle with them a little bit. Like, I'm like, what am I meant to be looking at? And like, I got distracted looking at the illustration and then I lost track of where the fuck I was in the story because there was just so much going on in the illustrations. This one does have spice. Graphic novel edition spice, not just read about it spice, which I don't think was necessary. It didn't add anything to the story. Didn't enjoy this one. Like I said, it was confusing. I kind of get where the story was going, but I was also kind of confused. And yeah, didn't see the point in the sex scenes. Like they just added nothing to the story itself. Yeah, it wasn't for me. I rated this one, what did I say? 2.5? 3.5? 2.5. What did I rate this? 2.5 stars. Now onto a graphic novel that I actually really enjoyed, and that was Treasure in the Lake by Jason Perment. This, I did not know anything about it before I picked it up at Big W. I saw it for 12 bucks. It was a graphic novel. I thought graphic novel for 12 bucks, that's cheap as shit. I'm gonna grab it. This is a middle grade. And I actually really enjoyed it. This was one of the 5 stars that I gave out this month. It was super fun and I found it really fascinating. And I also enjoyed that they had this section at the back which kind of talked about this premise but times it's happened in real life. And one of them is in Australia, which is where I live. So like, that was cool. So basically it follows these 2 friends. They find this lake behind their town. River? Lake. River behind their town, which is suspiciously dry when yesterday it was literally like a full-on river. So they follow the riverbed and they end up finding a hidden city that has been hiding under the water. Really fascinating. I really love this one. Yeah, I love that little bit of background, like of where, like hidden city type thing, like think Atlantis type situation. But I'll just read out this one. This is what the picture looks like. But this is the one in Australia. Between 1956 and 1957, the Australian town of Adam-in-Narby, that sounds familiar actually, was moved to make way for a reservoir to power a hydroelectric system. Over 100 buildings were lifted up and carried by truck. 2 stone churches were even dismantled and reconstructed brick by brick. Many buildings were sadly left behind. However, in 2007, severe drought caused the water level to drop so much that the old town re-emerged. Surviving residents could walk the streets and reminisce about their childhood homes. How interesting is that? But anyways, yeah, definitely recommend picking this one up. It's super fun. It's super quick. Get it at Big W. It was cheap. But yeah, definitely recommend it. It's a middle grade. Like it's fun. Sometimes you just need a fun read. And especially because like I was reading a lot of heavy thriller, mystery, horror situations. This is what I needed in the middle of October. definitely fun. And yeah, 5 stars. How many times am I going to say fun in one sentence? Next, I read Defy the Night by Bridget Camera. This one is a Robin Hood retelling, but we're not stealing money from the rich. We're stealing a cure to an illness that is ravaging everyone, basically. So this cure, like, to be able to afford it, you need to be at the very least working class to high class to elite. So Tessa and this bloke called Weston basically are teamed up and they steal from the rich and give to the poor with the cure. But as rebellion starts brewing, there is fears that the cure is no longer working. The king decides to set out this brutal event, and Tessa decides that the only way to solve the problems is to kill the king. So we follow Tessa as well as Prince Coric, who is the crowned prince to said king. Really enjoyed this one. This is Bridget Camera's second series. This is the first book in the Defy the Night series. I absolutely loved, that's them right there, A Curse So Dark and Lonely. Absolutely loved it. And also it is another retelling. Like Curse So Dark and Lonely is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. This one is a Robin Hood. Wrong Hood. This one is a Robin Hood retelling, so definitely got some similar vibes going on. But I rated this one at 4.5 stars and I can't wait for the book 2, and hopefully it will be like A Curse So Dark and Lonely where it gets better and better with each book. I'm hoping, because I really enjoyed this one, and like if it gets better than this, gonna love it. So next I'm gonna talk about a book that I own but I can't locate. It might be in a book sleeve somewhere, but I'm not sure where. But I couldn't find it. And that is House of Holo by Catherine Sutherland. So this one is a pretty dark book. Like, it gives me Wilder Girl vibes, even though I didn't love Wilder Girls. I actually really enjoyed this one. I did rate this one 4.5 stars, so I enjoyed it, but it gives me those vibes. So basically we follow these 3 sisters, and something happened to them when they were kids. They were kidnapped, they were gone for I think it was a month, and they came back not remembering a thing from that time, or even from before that time. Like, they don't remember their childhood before that. And in the time after that, their eyes started turning black, their hair started turning white, and just weird things started happening. And the book is set 10 years later, and one of the sisters goes missing, and the other 2 set off to try and find her and trying to figure out whether this is linked to whatever happened to them when they were kids. Found this really fascinating. I really enjoyed it. The audiobook was really well done, so I definitely recommend picking this one up. This one does have LGBT rep as well. The main character is bisexual, her sister is a lesbian, and then the other sister is straight. And there's also a character who I believe is gender fluid, but it was never directly identified. And yeah, I just found it really fascinating. It was very mysterious. It does have a very dark twist. The mix of like a mystery plus horror plus like fantasy, that's my shit. Really enjoyed this one. So next I read Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This one is an adult thriller, and I'm starting to get a little bit more into adult thrillers. I've been reading some more. I'm currently reading another Riley Sager book, but basically in this one, our main character Jules is hired as a apartment sitter for this apartment in the Bartholomew, which is like this really notorious top high-end apartment block that's had a pretty dark past. Like, some weird shit has gone down in the past, and yeah, she's being paid to apartment sit in this house, but things might not be all that they seem. And there's also like a heap of these weird rules, like she's not allowed visitors in the building whatsoever. She's not allowed to talk to other residents unless spoken to first. She is not allowed to spend a single night away from the Bartholomew. And she kind of makes friends with one of the other apartment sitters, Ingrid, and then Ingrid disappears in the middle of the night, and they claim that she up and left, she didn't want to do the job anymore, and she just disappeared. Jules can't get onto her, and she starts being really concerned and starts investigating, and some weird shit is uncovered. I actually really enjoyed this one. It was very mysterious, very creepy. I definitely enjoyed the mystery aspect. It was definitely thrilling. I rated it 4 stars, and I recommend picking it up. I'm definitely going to try. Like, obviously I just said that I'm currently reading one of Riley Sager's other books, but I'm definitely going to read some more. So far I'm enjoying this one as well, so it sounds like it's going to be a good author for me. So lastly, for books read, I'm also going to end on a DNF. That's cool. I started on a DNF and now I'm ending on a DNF. But anyways, Before that, I have The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin, which this is the other book that I rated 5 stars. I absolutely loved this. It was so freaking good. I devoured this book. I did have a little bit of an issue with the main character. Like, she frustrated me a little bit, like, but I get why she was the way she is. So I couldn't blame her for that, but she did frustrate me. But that's not the book's fault. Like, that's character. I think she was meant to be like that. But basically in this one we follow Clara, who is an Everwitch, and she can control her abilities during every season, whereas normal witches, they have like a specific season and they have winter magic, or they have summer magic, or they have autumn magic, and outside of those seasons their magic is like dampened. And yet in this world the witches control the weather, so they encourage rain so that way crops get, you know, good rain and stuff like that, but they also, when bad storms come, they can dissipate them. But the storms are getting stronger, the weather is getting more violent, and it's getting chaotic. Like, things are happening outside of the season that they usually happen in, and no one really knows why. I really enjoyed this one. There is a romance in this one, but I thought it was actually really well done. Like, I don't particularly go for romances in books. Like, I'm not the type of person that's like, oh my, here's my book boyfriend. That's just not me. I just don't get it. But I enjoy how this one was written, so I definitely recommend picking it up if you're looking for a romance as well. But I loved this book so freaking much. I love this world. I'm sad this is a standalone. I'd be very curious to read more in this world, and I'm definitely keen to check out more books by Rachel Griffin, because this was the first book I read by her. I don't even know if she has other books out, but I definitely will pick them up if there are other books out, because I'm very curious. And then lastly, like I said, we have a DNF, and that is Night Watch on the Hinterlands, which I won't go into too much. And I talk about it more in depth in my Dewey's 24-hour readathon vlog that will be up, I think, before this video. We'll see. But basically I was just confused. I DNF'd this one at 5%. I was so confused. It felt like I was going absolutely nowhere. Like, it took me so freaking long to read that 5% that I felt like I was like banging my head up against a brick wall and going nowhere. And it was also very confusing. Like, there was a lot of big words that felt like they were there just for the sake of having big words and sounding like you're more intelligent than you are. And plus, on top of that, there was also words that were made up. There was slang based in this world. There was species. There was world terms. Like, there was stuff that's like not real words, like they're made up for this world. And none of it was explained. I think there was like, in the 5% that I read, there was like 2 words that were actually explained. The rest of them, they just kind of breezed over, and I was so confused. But anyways, I DNF'd that one at 5%, which I think is the lowest DNF I've ever done, like 5%. It's pretty freaking low. Anyways, I'm gonna wrap this one out quickly because my battery is dying. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you read any of these, what you thought of them. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next one. Let's hope I get a thumbnail in before my camera dies.